Welcome back. So this is the last video in this series, and we're going to talk a little bit about, am I doing battery-wise? I got a full battery. Sorry. We're going to talk about Lachmann on time and methods. All right. First thing we're going to talk about is time and why this also contributes to a very unique understanding of Austrian economics, particularly one based on process theory. Okay. Time can be understood as objective or subjective, or what we call chronological or chirological. All right. Time as objective from a chronological perspective. Let's attack this. I can tell you that 5 minutes has passed because I use it according to my watch. Either 5 minutes passed or it didn't. This is objective time. This is chronological time, that which can be based according to a watch. Well, this is where it starts getting real fishy for those of you that are in like physics or cosmology. Chronological time does not exist at the cosmic or universal level. It does not exist at the microscopic level. It is entirely a human construction. That'll leave you awake. That'll leave you awake at night, won't it? Right? So time doesn't actually exist, okay? At least not, it's a human construction. So that is objective understanding of time. Subjective time means that people experience different time frames differently. Okay? Let me give some examples. You know that expression, time flies when you're having fun, or a watch pot never boils? Okay? This is an example of the discrepancy between objective time, chronological time, versus subjective or chirological time, which means process-based. So according to the chirological viewpoint, you only measure time based on how long it takes you to get from different steps in a process. I don't know if any of you ever saw that movie, Demolition Man, with Sylvester Stallone and Wesley Snipes. Not a bad movie, but not a great movie. I kind of liked it. Anyhow, in that movie, Sylvester Stallone's character is frozen in a block of ice, and he's not thawed out till like 50 years later. 50 years passed on Earth, chronologically. But chirologically, for Sylvester Stallone, because he was frozen in that block of ice, time did not pass for him. Because he was frozen, chirological time stopped, even though chronological time continued. And that goes into how different people experience different times differently. Everybody else on Earth got old, and the Earth changed, but it didn't change for Sylvester Stallone. It's kind of like one of my students. And you know what he told me? He said, if I only had 5 minutes left to live, I'd spend them in your class because it feels like an eternity. That burned. It really burned. But it proves the point nonetheless. 5 minutes chronologically for him, chirologically, seemed to be an eternity. Now, what in the world does this have to do with entrepreneurship? Think of this. We talk about the entrepreneurial journey in my other videos of Introduction to Entrepreneurship. If I have an idea when I'm 16 to start a business, but then my career, family, whatever gets in the way, and I don't start that idea back up until I'm 42 years old. So I think about it for 3 months when I'm 16, and then I start actually launching it within 3 months at age 42. How long have I been working on this business? Have I been working on it from the age of 16 to 42, or have I only been working on it for 6 months? The 3 months when I was 16, or the 3 months, and plus the 3 months that I worked on it when I was 42. Right? And of course, you also think about this with all sorts of different kinds of entrepreneurial ventures, right? Certain kinds of entrepreneurs can get things done faster, more efficiently, more effectively, so they move faster chirologically, or actually they move faster chronologically, even if they're doing the same exact steps chirologically as a larger firm. You think about how bureaucracies are sluggish and they move slowly, so lots of chronological time can pass even though chirological time does not. Whereas a flexible, nimble entrepreneurship can get a lot of chirological stuff done in a very limited chronological time. Right? These are people who move very quickly. That's the best way of saying it. So this is Lachmann's understanding of time. He's got another idea with methods. He says, well, based on all of this crazy stuff, the idea that markets are in disequilibrium, of course, this understanding of time, you can't even get an equilibrium with time. You've got objective and subjective time concurrently existing. No wonder we can't keep anything straight, right? All right, enough of that. Where was I going with that? Oh yeah, so that's another reason there's more disequilibrium in the market. Now, in order to understand how this equilibrium works, he proposes two kinds of methodologies. And these are very different than a lot of the heavy statistical stuff that you're probably learning in your entrepreneurship classes to try to get feel what's going on. The first, and he borrows both these from Max Weber, the sociologist. The first is Idealtypus, or ideal type. And he basically says if you want to understand how entrepreneurs function, they engage with ideal types. And an ideal type is kind of like an institution, except it's normally a person or a firm, right? So we aspire, right? We engage in pattern matching. When a young child says, when I grow up, I want to be just like Mark Zuckerberg, that's engaging in an ideal type. Obviously, he'll never be exactly like Mark Zuckerberg, but he's going to emulate his success. He's going to be hardworking. He's going to be motivated. In fact, I can guarantee there will be many, many, many differences between that child and Mark Zuckerberg. But a lot of the fundamental aspects of Mark Zuckerberg make him an ideal type for other entrepreneurs to emulate. Okay, that's the ideal type in action. And we all have ideal types that we emulate. Okay? For me, I have ideal types. I'd like to be more like my parents. I'd like to be more like certain academicians that I respect and look up to. I'd like to be more like CEOs that I respect and look up to. Obviously, I'm a professor. There's many, many differences between my situation and theirs. But there are bits and pieces that I engage in pattern matching. I try to emulate different small pieces of their behavior in my own way, and for my own reasons. Okay? The second thing is verstehen and erklären. Now, Max Weber actually used these terms in German, so this is not somebody trying to just put something in German to sound fancy. Verstehen and erklären answers two very fundamental different questions about what you are studying when you try to understand entrepreneurs. Do you only look at, for example, I pick on Mark Zuckerberg a lot because I think he's somebody everybody knows is a good example of an entrepreneur. Do you look at only the end results of Mark Zuckerberg creating Facebook? Do you say, okay, Mark Zuckerberg made $1 billion in this year, and these are all the end results, and these are all the wonderful things he's achieved? Bam, that's erklären, because that focuses on results. What is the end state? Okay, erklären means to clarify in German. On the other hand, verstehen means to understand. Verstehen focuses on the antecedents of entrepreneurship. So it's not the most helpful for me to understand, or for me to describe or to clarify that Mark Zuckerberg did all these great things. But if I want to be more like Mark Zuckerberg, if I want to emulate my ideal type, I need to understand his antecedents. What is it about Mark Zuckerberg made him successful? Was it the fact he was at Harvard? Was it the fact he was really smart? Was it the fact that X, Y, and Z? What are the root causes that make an entrepreneur successful? This is verstehen and antecedent understanding and action. And this is what Lachmann says. We don't focus on an end equilibrium point, a supply and demand curve. We try to understand how we get to that supply and demand curve. Whew. Well, I've been bouncing off the walls for all of these videos. So if you have any questions or something's not clear, post in the comments, give me a thumbs up, give me a subscribe. And I'm looking forward to seeing you in the next playlist. Thanks for watching.